This is Modern Mindset, the show where we discuss the psychology and emotion of finance and business. I'm your host, Adam Cox, and joining me today is Ollie Trew. And Ollie is a coach, a healer, and a spiritual catalyst. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me, Adam.
And today we're going to be talking about different things. We're going to be talking about our spiritual purpose, who we are, what we do, and how to reconnect with ourselves. But give us a bit of a background on you and your story and how you've come to be doing what you're doing now.
Yeah, so thanks for that. So I was a professional beatboxer. A few years ago, discovered a talent for basically making fart sounds. That's the best way I could describe it. So I was in my room at one stage practicing, and I think my parents were very worried about this teenager upstairs in his room practicing these sounds. And it just evolved, it just developed. I changed friendship group when I was at university to explore and discover beatboxing. And actually, as time evolved, after many, many hours of practice, end up being one of the best in the country. So I was in Shepherd's Bush Empire with my mum at the back of the stage. That was a very, very proud moment. And came fifth in the beatboxing championships. These fart sounds had evolved, so that was a very special occasion. So had a fragrant career as a beatboxer, then became a film producer, so traveling to Africa, to Mozambique, filming farmers in their fields, talking about what they're passionate about crops, about their houses, about the difference that finances have made to them. And from there I realized I was mentoring people, and something deep inside my heart said, Ollie, there is so much more that you can be. I was helping people to get into film production, to start their own business, to be freelancers. And I just felt that they could be more, do more, say more as people. So I got into healing. I got into coaching. Almost somewhere deep down inside of me, I knew there was something else that I was doing with these clients above and beyond the word, shall we say, the physical aspect.
So it sounds like from what you've said there, you kind of went through this journey yourself of now what you do for other people, which is kind of finding out what your purpose was. Would you say there's different types of purposes?
Yeah, absolutely. So we were talking about this a bit earlier, which was soul purpose versus life purpose. So for those of you tuning in as well, this is a really interesting thing. What I encourage, everything I'm going to say is based on my consciousness. That's the first thing I'm going to say. So caveat that, it's my opinion, my level of consciousness. But what I do is I sit in meditations, Adam. I get downloads, I get information through, and I love it. And it just feels, through clairsentience in my body, something will feel particularly right. I feel a shiver in my spine. I will know it's a truth. And what I've discovered is that soul purpose is specific lessons that we're here to learn in this lifetime. It's growth. It's the things that are particularly difficult that we're not prepared to face necessarily. It's that growth, it's that love aspect. Whereas life purpose, by comparison, is the vehicle. You know, what are you going to do in this lifetime? Are you going to be a coach? Are you going to be a builder? Are you going to be a property magnate, tycoon? Are you going to be someone that deals with information technology? So I see the life purpose as a vehicle and the soul purpose as those beautiful but somewhat difficult lessons, those painful lessons that we go through.
And obviously we can't just breeze past your backstory, your history as a beatboxer without hearing some of your professional skills there. So give us a taste of what you were doing when you were a champion beatboxer.
So, yeah, always on the spot with these things, aren't you? So before I do it, I used to get asked by people to beatbox the whole time at parties. Something I want to mention that I think is really beautiful is that I've discovered that with every single life purpose and thing that we do, there comes a point where you never feel the need to actually do things. Unless, like Adam does, someone asks you from the heart and then you do it. So I'm going to do it now. Let's do this. Wind when the crowd say bow.
That was insane, you know. And I'm watching you, and these sounds are coming out of your head. How much practice did you have to put in to be able to do that?
Yeah, a lot of practice. A lot of practice. I think this is the key, as far as I'm concerned. It's that willingness to. I used to practice in the streets, so with rappers and friends and just by myself. And it's that willingness to look stupid, you know, just be prepared to embarrass yourself in front of people in the streets or when you're out. I love this analogy as well. Whatever we're doing, play as though we're playing to zero audience and really put our heart and soul into everything. So literally, if you can imagine, I was this guy with the amplifier. I was in a squash court at Newcastle University studying French and business studies. There I was, 2 a.m. at night time, beatboxing my cotton sods off till I had no voice left. So I used to practice more than most people. Still beatbox, still love it. But what I did is I damaged my voice quite a lot, which was a part of the transition from beatboxing onto the next step. So I urge anybody listening, recharge your batteries. You know what I'm talking about. So your voice or whatever batteries resonate with you.
Excellent advice there. And I think, burnout is something that a lot of us do experience at different times. And you're right, sometimes you've got to take a break. Speaking of breaks, one of the things that you're known for is the retreats that you schedule. Is it once a year?
Yeah, so the retreats, currently as it stands, it's one a year, but we're expanding as we speak. We're off to Mexico, where I'm actually doing an Ironman out in Mexico, as bonkers as that sounds. So the retreat at the moment is in Thailand. It's on Koh Samui. Adam, it's what we call this hero's journey. You get on the plane. It's a long journey. You go to Bangkok. You fly from Bangkok, you go to Koh Samui, where it's beautiful, where it's peaceful, in the south of the island, right next to the beach. And the retreat is very, very close to my heart and Denise's half, my other half's heart, or better half, as we like to call it. The reason being, it's all about clearing out the muck. It's about coming along, no judgment, perfectly imperfect beings that we are. And it's about doing the deep inner spiritual work to get back to who we really are. And that goes for me and Denise as well. Every single person there forms what we call a circle, a spiritual circle, if you like. I always believe that scientific answers and spiritual answers can lead to the same place. So a scientific or a spiritual circle. And in that circle, it's a completely safe space where everybody is fully present and aligned to share their garbage. Very, very often there are so many things behind closed doors we just don't share. We don't get out to the world, and so every single element of each person that comes to Thailand for Beautiful You is welcome. And when we leave Beautiful You, Denise and I included, we're just not the same people. We're just freer, we're unstoppable, we're cleaned up. Someone once described it as just being completely complete now. He's like, I have this sense of peace, I have this sense of knowing, I understand my purpose, I know who I am, I'm ready to go.
And what's the process that you go through? Because metaphorically, cleaning out the baggage and dumping all the unwanted stuff, I think most people can relate to. And most people on holiday might just spend some time on a beach, read a book, have a dip in the sea. What process do you go through on this retreat to actually facilitate that kind of letting go of that crap?
Sure. So a big part of it is heart circling, although not official heart circling. So if you imagine a circle, and then you touch upon the deepest pain points that you have, for example, Adam inside of you, or that I have inside of me. It's that deep sense of vulnerability and sharing and bringing those pain points to the surface. Asking questions and doing 7 whys, if you like, to get to the very, very bottom of our love tank, as I like to call it as well, and see what's hiding. Bullying from school, parents that have told us that we're not good enough, whatever it is, we bring that to the surface. And after we've brought that to the surface, it's about doing healing. We do hands-on healing, basically. That's Reiki healing. That's also my style of healing, which is the True method, my own method of healing, to fill people up with unconditional love. Now, a big part of it is that process. We also, we do fitness in the morning. So we break down the physical, the mental, the spiritual aspects of the body. So it's really about breaking down things and building people up to be so much more resilient, to be everything they can be. So it's intense. It's not by the beach. It's not relaxing. It's not that self-love kind of thing. It's this deep, intense spiritual cleanse out.
So it sounds like a bit of a boot camp is going on to kind of break people down and then build people up.
Yeah.
What does resilience mean to you? Because resilience, I think, can mean different things to different people. What does it mean to you?
Resilience is who we are in my books when there is nothing left, when there are no, I believe material possessions are very, very spiritual things. It's the manifestation of spirituality, of finance right in front of us, material possessions. But resilience for me is really who we are at our absolute core. When there is no bike, we're in the studio here, in this radio studio, when there's no equipment, when there is absolutely nothing. Who are you listening to this in that particular moment? What is your real heart and soul? And I want to pause here as we all ponder this, hopefully listening in. Who are you really in that moment? And what do you have inside of you? Because when the shit hits the fan, most of us are not prepared to deal with that stuff. So last night, I was sharing this with you earlier, Adam. I was on a bike training for an Ironman. My bike got a puncture. I had no spare tyre. It was freezing cold. It was raining. I had no wallet to get any kind of train back or anything else. And I just said to myself, based on who I am and based on this resilience, this will make me stronger. If I go here, if I'm willing to take these steps, if I run back with this dodgy bike as well, step by step by step, I will get home and I'll be stronger for it the next day. And even though I can tell you my legs are like absolute jelly as I do this, as I speak to you guys in this conversation, I feel amazing. My mind is clean. And I spent the entire journey coming down here just smiling and reminiscing on that resilience. Always reminisce on the resilience. Your bad days are your best days every time.
I definitely agree with that. And I think, resilience, someone described it as me as kind of, no matter how many times you fall over, being willing to get yourself back up again, and which is very different from motivation. Motivation might get you going to begin with, but there's almost a hope or an expectancy that there's going to be no problems on the way, and life just isn't like that. There is always obstacles, there's always problems, but it's your kind of willingness to kind of go through them again and again and again is really what, for me, resilience is.
Absolutely. God, the external aspect, as you said, the motivational aspect, I mean, as beautiful as it can be as a starting point. I'm sure you're into this yourself, Adam. It's that kind of external reward that we have. Let's say, for example, we've done something really good. We've gone to the gym. We go and get some food. We feel really good about maybe having this meal, maybe even a bit of junk food because, we're rewarding ourselves. But I have found that mastery comes from that internal aspect of truly feeling into what it means to do something like the NLP that you do, Adam, or the coaching, the healing that I do. Let's take a chess player, for example. True mastery of understanding what it means to play chess is feeling that sense of strategy, is getting that internal reward and that resilience to lose over and over and over again, but still be motivated internally. Without any rewards, without any trophies, without any all of this kind of stuff. So if we strip that back to its bare bone essentials, that's what resilience is for me as well. Who are you when you are standing virtually naked with nothing at all? What do you have in that particular moment?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you only have yourself and your thoughts and your learning and kind of your identity, really. So I think it's a really fascinating way of kind of, because I think a lot of people go to retreats to be pampered, and they want everything 5-star and everything has to be kind of convenient and easy and relaxing. But your viewpoint is that isn't necessarily useful.
So yeah, I'm glad you brought it up. So the way I've always seen it, again, this comes back to meditations and downloads, is have some level of comfort in every single thing we do. That's what's being guided to me, and that's what makes sense based on my level of consciousness. So the house is luxury. The house is beautiful. It's by the beach. It's a saltwater pool, so there's all of this relaxation in between. But you're right in the sense that it's intense. There is the boot camp. There's the yoga. Everything really comes down to alignment in that process as well. So I really believe as a coach, and my method of coaching and healing, the True method, is all about being and doing, and seeing that some people are doers naturally and some people are beers. And so with the beers, we like to give them a kick up the bum to get moving, to get motivated, to get out there, to really push those limits when they're running, when they're doing yoga, these things. With the doers, there's that really delicate balance between full presence and slowing right down to truly, truly appreciate the palm trees, the coconut. We had one guy there on our last retreat, and he was eating, I think it was a bowl of rice, and he was eating it, a fully present meal for about 2 hours, this tiny bowl of rice, okay? So this wasn't intended, but this is something that came up, so he could truly, truly appreciate that. And I just thought that was beautiful. And another aspect of the retreat that I love is it's not about me and Denisa. It's not about us. We're there to facilitate, but every single person steps forward into their power as light workers, as coaches, as healers, as entrepreneurs. So everybody looks out for each other and steps forward and helps out.
Excellent. And it sounds very different from a conventional holiday, and so it's definitely like that. So it's almost kind of like an element of self-analysis and kind of breakthroughs.
I should mention very briefly, we do deep meditations as well, hands-on healing, and Denisa does raw food workshops around food. So what happens is magical. We do 3 days of juicing. After 3 days of juicing, people tend to get really angry, angsty, frustrated, all of that stuff comes right to the surface and we deal with it. So that's quite fun. I see that as fun, personally. It doesn't sound like fun on the surface, but when you come out the other end and when you're smiling, head to toe, that's fun in my books.
Yeah, it's definitely transformative. I watched a film a number of years ago called Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead by Joe Cross. And immediately I decided to do a 60-day juicing challenge.
Amazing.
And I was never so happy to see food at the end of it, but it was completely transformative. And
wow.
I felt amazing. And you sleep better and you feel better. And it is. So anyone out there, definitely juice more is my kind of tip.
So how did you get on with this juice fast? 60 days is a long time. That's a lot of resilience, a lot of dedication.
Yeah, I mean, I did 60 days purely because that's what the movie did. And I had this question came up when I was watching it. And the premise of the film basically is a documentary where you've got this Australian guy who's overweight, he's quite sick, and decides that he's going to have nothing but juice as his sole, kind of nutrition and food and drink for 60 days, and transforms his body. And then he runs into a trucker who's also sick, does the same thing. And the key question that came into my head is this safe? Is this doable? Is this, is this real? I can certainly echo that kind of element of your body goes into withdrawal 3 or 4 days in. To begin with, it seems easy, and then you get very cranky. But you learn a lot about yourself when you go on these kind of challenges and journeys. And I don't think the purpose is that things are easy, but it's who you become when you tackle challenging things that is actually the main reason.
That's exactly what it is for me. It's the journey back to, we were talking earlier, the journey back to self. Who are we at our core when all of the onion layers are peeled back, as you say about the 60-day juice fast as well, and getting back to your core. I do that, funnily enough, I do that through running. I don't know if you're a runner yourself, but I do that regularly through long distance runs, so ultra marathons, things like that as well. That's how I get back to my absolute core, because ultimately at some point, a bit like your juice fast, there is nothing left of me at some stage. There is nothing. I'm just there as a spirit. It's the only thing that is, in fact, as a soul. And the spirit is just before the soul level. So our spirit takes over after all the mental, physical, emotional drain, that's gone. And then at the bottom of that, all that was left of me at the end of I did 100K actually after 55K.
Wow.
All that was left after 17 hours of running was my soul. That was it. That was the only thing on the race course. And I'm sure you can relate to this as well. And if you're listening, and Adam as well, it's that's what we're made of, and that's what really, really builds us up. And most of us are not prepared to go there. But if we do go there, the lightness, the beauty, the joy, the love that is on the other side is just unbelievable. And I will tie this story together by saying I finished this 100 kilometers. And at the end of the race, my darling mum, who was there for the beatboxing challenge as well, she claps me in, my girlfriend claps me in, and this woman, this is 12 o'clock at night, so it's pitch black, and the finish line's closed down. She leans out of her window and she goes, "Can you please shut the F up? I'm trying to sleep."
Priorities.
And that was the end.
There we go. What I would say, you clearly are a very spiritual person. You're very kind of in tuned with your own kind of feelings, emotions, that kind of stuff. We have an audience of people very much into finance and business.
Yeah.
Is it possible to, let's say, overlap this kind of spiritual soul purpose with hard, kind of things like entrepreneurship and monetization and things like that? And what's your take on that?
100%. I really, really believe in my heart. For those of you that have made it to this point in the interview and haven't been put off by the spiritual talk and conversation, then awesome. I really believe in my heart that every single pathway leads to a very similar place, whether we take a spiritual aspect, whether we take a scientific aspect. And ultimately, we're all searching for that depth of happiness, love, joy, and entrepreneurship, and really finding meaning and purpose in things. So if you're out there, you have your own business, or you're thinking about starting your own business, one of my absolute specialities around this, this is probably the advice that I have for you around this. Just make sure that if we took a scale of 0 to 10, make sure that you're 8, 9, 10 out of 10 in terms of passion and purpose. Make sure that when it is difficult for you, when you're doing, let's say, accounting, when you're doing websites, you're doing all that kind of stuff as well, that you still feel some sense of buzz, that you can still look out the window and you can look into the future, you can look long-term versus short-term, and realize that this journey that you're on, let's say in finance or building your own business or working inside a company, is worth being on for the long haul. I see it as that roller coaster, those ups and downs. But on a scientific level as well as a spiritual level, you've got to have yourself surrounded by the right mentors, the right people. That is absolutely invaluable. Do whatever it takes, guys, to get in the room, to get in the space, to get in the proximity, which is power, with those people that can truly get you to where you want to be business-wise or inside companies. Whatever it takes, go to the boss, have conversations on the regular, go to those people you really admire and respect, and they will help to fast track your process scientifically or spiritually onto where you want to be.
No, great advice there, and I think that's the key thing really, which resulted in a bit of a change for me, because for years I was running a PR company, and I would say it got to a point where lots of it absolutely loved, and definitely was at that kind of 7 or 8 level, but when I really looked within, it was psychology. It was kind of enabling people to change. That was the bit that my mind kept drifting back to. And the key thing is that it's not all a case of all or nothing. You can have certain parts of your life that enable you to balance and do all the different bits that you love, without kind of completely risking everything, which I think is an important bit.
I'm very big on that as well, actually, Adam. If I can follow on from that, because I see most people leave their comfort nest, their full-time job, and go and start this business separately. And I think it's absolutely the wrong way to go. For some of us, it's okay, but it's like going out in the ocean without a ship, and you just go out swimming and relying on your swimming abilities and your resilience, which is great, but very, very risky. I call it building the bridge to the yellow brick road, if I may, which is taking your job and building a bridge across to what you're truly, truly passionate about, and bringing that level of finance up step by step by step, gradually, until you can sift across that business and do it full time, which does mean a lot of fun work, I call it, and hard work, and doing whatever it takes to make that dream a reality. But obviously checking in, as you said, and you're absolutely right, I believe it's step by step by step. But instead of the tortoise and the gradual approach, I prefer the gradual approach of the hare. So I think it's about working out how we work. If you're tuning in and listening, how do you operate? Are you a night owl or are you a lark?
Ollie, you've been a great guest. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
And to you at home, thanks for joining us on Modern Mindset. I've been your host, Adam Cox. Join me again next week for more.